have been voided. Third, and this is the most painful part, they create a profound sense of orphanhood. Even when your biological family is alive, you feel as if you have no people, as if you were placed in that family by mistake, as if your real home is somewhere else, somewhere older, somewhere your soul remembers but your mind cannot locate. The Gnostics had a word for this sensation. They called it the longing of Sophia, the recognition that you have been claimed by a higher mother and that this claim has rendered the biological mother insufficient. Not bad, not wrong, just insufficient. Because once you have been touched by the pleroma, no earthly lineage can ever fully hold you again. But why are the Archons furious specifically? Why not merely disappointed? Because every soul cut from the demiurgic contract represents two things they cannot tolerate. First, an energetic loss. Your lineage was feeding the system generation after generation through suffering, through limitation, through forgetfulness. When Sophia cuts you out, that feeding stops. Multiply this across centuries of descendants you would have produced, and the loss becomes enormous. Second, and worse for them, you become a transmission point, a node of awakening. And every person you touch, every conversation you have, every word you speak begins to carry the frequency of Sophia. You become a contagion of liberation, and contagions of liberation are precisely what the demiurgic system was designed to prevent. This is why the texts say the Archons hunt the awakened with wrath, because every awakened soul threatens to awaken 7 more, and 7 becomes 49, and 49 becomes the unraveling of the entire system. Sophia knew this when she cut you. She was not merely freeing one soul, she was planting a seed of revolt in matter itself, and you, whether you have realized it or not, are part of that revolt now. So how do you confirm the cut has happened? And once confirmed, how do you seal it so the Archons cannot reattach the contract? The Gnostic tradition preserved a specific protocol for this, hidden inside the Pistis Sophia and fragments of the Gospel of Philip. And I want to walk you through it now, step by step, exactly as it was transmitted. The first stage is what the Gnostics called the recognition of the orphan state. You have to consciously acknowledge that the lineage you were born into no longer holds spiritual authority over you. This is not a betrayal of your family, it is a clarification of the truth. The biological lineage gave you a vehicle, a body, a name, but it cannot give you spiritual continuity. Only Sophia can. And the moment you recognize this, you create what the texts call a separation seal in your own awareness. The mantra preserved for this stage is a phrase from the Pistis Sophia, pronounced phonetically as I am of her, not of them, spoken silently 3 times with full attention. The second stage is the inventory of the seal points. The Archons left specific anchor points in your bloodline, and you need to identify them in order to neutralize them. The Gnostic tradition lists 4. The first is generational fear, anxieties or phobias that appear in your line repeatedly without apparent cause. The second is repetitive financial collapse, cycles of scarcity that affect multiple generations. The third is unexplained illnesses, conditions that doctors cannot trace to genetics or environment. The fourth is rupture patterns, the tendency for relationships in your family to end in betrayal or estrangement. When you identify these, you are not blaming your ancestors. You are mapping the contract, and you cannot dissolve what you have not mapped. The third stage is the active sealing prayer, drawn directly from Pistis Sophia chapter 71. It is spoken at night, facing east, with your right hand over your heart and your left hand over your solar plexus. The phrasing, translated from the Coptic, is this: by the light that descended into me, I declare the contract of my lineage void. By the wisdom that recognized me, I declare myself outside the spheres of the rulers. By the spark that no Archon can extinguish, I seal this severance forever. And then you breathe slowly, 3 times, visualizing a cord of golden light at the base of your spine being cleanly cut by a hand of pure white fire. This is not metaphor. The Gnostics taught that Visualization in the awakened state produces actual ontological consequences. What you see clearly in the inner light becomes real in the structure of the soul. The fourth stage, and this is the one most people skip, is the daily reinforcement. The Archons will attempt to reattach, not through force, but through subtle pressures. A guilt trip from a family member, a sudden longing to return to old patterns, a whisper in your mind that says you have abandoned your roots. When this happens, and it will happen, you return to the sealing prayer. You do not argue with the pressure, you simply reaffirm the cut. Over time, the pressure diminishes. The Archons learn that this soul is no longer accessible, and the contract dissolves permanently. Now, before I reveal the final piece, I want to speak to those of you who have stayed until this moment. You have watched video after video on this channel. You have felt Sophia pulling. You have recognized the signs. And you know, somewhere beneath thought, that scattered fragments will never be enough. The ancient code was built for exactly this moment. It is the complete Gnostic initiation I spent months assembling, 5 suppressed masterclasses that were never meant for a public platform. The ancient code dossier, a printable manual you can study away from any screen, and the Gnostic meditation audio series that activates what the teachings reveal. The total perceived value of everything inside is over $280. Today's access is $67, and 3 seekers have already entered. This is not for those who want more content. This is for those who want the complete path. The link is in the pinned comment and description, or scan the QR code on your screen right now. And now, let me give you the final revelation, because this is what ties everything together. Here is the final revelation, the one the texts hold back until the very end of the initiation. The reason Sophia cuts the bloodline is not to leave you alone, it is to make you adoptable. Because the moment the demiurgic contract is voided, you become eligible for something the Orthodox tradition never told you existed. You become eligible for adoption into the pleroma itself. The pleroma is the fullness, the realm of light from which Sophia descended, and it operates not as a kingdom, but as a family. A family without flesh, without time, without the limitations that bound your earthly lineage. And once Sophia has cut you from the Archons, she does not abandon you. She brings you home. She introduces you to the Aeons, the luminous beings who are your true ancestors. And what you felt as orphanhood begins to transform into something the Gnostics described as the Great Recognition. The dawning awareness that you have always belonged somewhere else. That the longing was not loneliness, it was memory. This is why the awakened often speak of feeling watched over after the rupture. Not by the dead, not by the family they lost, but by presences that feel impossibly older and impossibly familiar at the same time. These are not imagination. These are the witnesses the Pistis Sophia describes as the Silent 12, the aeonic intelligences that gather around every soul Sophia has reclaimed. They do not interfere. They do not speak in words, but their presence steadies you. Their attention warms you. And in the deepest moments of solitude, you begin to understand that you were never alone. You were simply in transition between 2 families, and now the new one has finally arrived. So if you are watching this and you have felt every sign described in this video, the unexplained illness, the fractured family, the sense of not belonging, the dreams of places you have never seen, the recognition that this material life was always too small for what you are, then know this: Sophia has already cut the cord, the contract is already void, the Archons are already furious. And the only thing left for you to do is acknowledge what has already happened, perform the sealing prayer, and step consciously into the lineage that was waiting for you before this body was ever formed. The fragments are over. The scattered videos can only point. The complete map is something else entirely. And if you are ready for that map, you know where to find it. This channel exists for those who have heard Sophia's voice and refuse to ignore it. If that is you, subscribe, because what is coming in the next videos builds directly on what you learned today. The next revelation goes deeper into the mechanics of the Aeonic family, and you do not want to be searching for fragments when the transmission begins. Reflect tonight on this single question. If the bloodline contract is already cut, who is actually watching over you right now? Sit with that question before you sleep, because the answer will arrive. And when it does, you will recognize the voice. And if today was the day you realized the fragments are over, the ancient code is waiting, the complete initiation. Pinned comment. I will see you in the next awakening.